What if I told you that some of your favorite grocery staples might vanish before March 2025? Prices are rising, shelves are emptying, and certain foods are becoming harder to find, but most shoppers have no idea why. From climate disasters to global supply chain breakdowns, shocking factors are threatening everyday essentials. Before your next grocery run, you need to know what's at risk because some of these items might disappear sooner than you think. Let's dive in. Food shortages aren't just a thing of the past. They're happening right now, and they're getting worse. From climate disasters to supply chain breakdowns and even government regulations, many everyday grocery items are at risk of disappearing before March 2025. Whether it's your morning coffee, your favorite snack, or even essential pantry staples, these shortages could hit faster than you think. In this video, we'll reveal the 10 surprising grocery items you might not find on shelves soon, and what you can do to prepare before it's too late. 1. Eggs have been a staple in almost every household for generations. But what if one day you walk into the grocery store and find the shelves completely empty? That day might be closer than you think. The biggest reason? Bird flu outbreaks. Over the past year, millions of chickens have been affected, forcing farmers to cull entire flocks to stop the spread. This has caused a massive drop in egg production, making it harder for stores to keep up with demand. And when supply goes down, prices skyrocket. We've already seen egg prices double and even triple in some areas, and it's only getting worse. Another problem? Feed and farming costs. The cost of raising chickens has gone through the roof, thanks to inflation, higher feed prices, and labor shortages. Many small farms can't afford to keep producing eggs at the same rate, leading to even more shortages. Some major grocery chains have already started limiting how many cartons customers can buy. Others are warning that supplies may not recover anytime soon. If things don't change fast, eggs could become a luxury item rather than an everyday necessity. So, what can you do? Stock up when you can, freeze eggs for later use, and explore alternatives like plant-based egg substitutes. Because if trends continue, eggs might be one of the hardest things to find at the store before March 2025. 2. Canned tuna. If you love a quick and easy tuna sandwich, you might want to savor every bite, because canned tuna could soon vanish from store shelves. The biggest reason? Overfishing. For years, global demand for tuna has been sky high, but the oceans can't keep up. Some tuna species, like the bluefin and yellowfin, are now at dangerously low populations. Many governments and environmental groups are pushing for stricter fishing limits, which means less tuna will be available for canning. Another major issue, climate change. Rising ocean temperatures are disrupting fish habitats, making it harder for tuna to thrive. Add in unpredictable storms and shifting migration patterns, and you've got a recipe for shortages. On top of that, supply chain problems are making it even harder to get canned tuna onto grocery store shelves. Shipping delays, higher fuel costs, and labor shortages are all driving up the price. Some stores have already started raising prices or cutting back on stock. So what does this mean for you? If you rely on canned tuna as a budget-friendly protein, now's the time to look for alternatives. Try switching to canned salmon, sardines, or even plant-based seafood options. And if you see a good deal on tuna at your grocery store, it might be smart to grab a few extra cans before it's too late. 3. If almond milk is your go-to dairy alternative, you might want to start exploring other options because it could be disappearing from store shelves soon. The biggest problem? Almonds need a lot of water, and most of the world's almonds come from California, a state that has been battling severe droughts for years. Growing almonds requires billions of gallons of water, and with water restrictions tightening, farmers are struggling to keep up production. Some are even abandoning almond orchards completely to grow crops that need less water. Another issue? Rising costs. Everything from farming expenses to processing and transportation has become more expensive. That means almond milk prices are climbing, and some brands may cut back on production or disappear altogether. On top of that, environmental concerns are growing. Almond farming isn't just water intensive, it's also harmful to bee populations. Bees are essential for pollinating almond trees, but the mass pollination process is putting stress on bee colonies, leading to higher bee deaths each year. Some environmental groups are now pushing for limits on almond farming, which could make almond milk even harder to find. So, what's the solution? Start trying other plant-based milks like oat, soy, or coconut milk. These alternatives use less water and are more sustainable. If you love almond milk, it's a good idea to stock up now, because before March 2025, it might be a rare find. 4. Avocados. Love guacamole? You might want to savor every bite, because avocados could be disappearing from grocery stores soon. The biggest reason? Severe droughts and water shortages. Avocado trees need a lot of water to grow, and most of the avocados in U.S. stores come from California and Mexico, both of which are facing serious water crises. With water becoming more restricted, farmers may not be able to grow enough avocados to meet demand. Another major issue? Political tensions and trade restrictions. The U.S. imports billions of avocados from Mexico, but due to recent security concerns and labor disputes, avocado shipments have been delayed or even stopped at times. If these issues continue, prices will soar, and avocados may become a luxury item rather than an everyday grocery staple. On top of that, climate change is making things worse. Rising temperatures and unpredictable weather patterns are affecting avocado harvests, leading to smaller crops and lower quality fruit. Some farmers are already cutting back on avocado production because it's becoming too expensive to grow them. So, what can you do? If avocados start disappearing from stores, you might want to look for alternatives like hummus, nut butters, or tahini for healthy fats. And if you love avocados, consider buying them in bulk and freezing slices to enjoy later. Because by March 2025, this creamy green fruit might be harder to find than ever. 5. If you love fresh fruits and veggies, you might need to brace yourself because some of your favorites could be harder to find before March 2025. The biggest issue? Labor shortages. Many farms in the U.S. rely on seasonal workers to plant, harvest, and pack fresh produce. But with stricter immigration policies and rising labor costs, fewer workers are available. This means smaller harvests, fewer shipments, and emptier shelves. Another major factor? Extreme weather. From droughts and wildfires in California to hurricanes and freezes in Florida, unpredictable weather is destroying crops before they even reach stores. In 2024 alone, we saw major losses in lettuce, tomatoes, and citrus fruits, and the situation is only getting worse. On top of that, transportation costs are skyrocketing. Fresh produce is delicate and needs to be shipped quickly. But with rising fuel prices and supply chain delays, grocery stores are struggling to keep up. Some stores have even cut back on ordering fresh items because they spoil too quickly if deliveries are late. So, what can you do? Buy local. Support farmers markets and community-supported agriculture, CSA, programs to get fresh produce straight from growers. Also, consider frozen or canned alternatives which last longer and still pack plenty of nutrients. Fresh fruits and veggies may not completely disappear, but by March 2025, they could become more expensive and much harder to find. So now is the time to plan ahead. 6. Rice is one of the most affordable and essential foods in millions of households, but by March 2025, it could be harder to find and way more expensive. Why? Extreme weather and poor harvests. Major rice-producing countries like India, Thailand, and Vietnam have been hit by severe droughts and floods, leading to smaller harvests. Less rice being grown means higher prices and lower supply worldwide. Another big issue? Export bans. In 2023, India, the world's largest rice exporter, restricted exports to protect its own supply. This caused a global shortage almost overnight, with prices soaring by over 30% in some areas. If more countries follow suit, the U.S. could see major rice shortages in the coming months. And let's not forget rising costs. Everything from fertilizer and fuel prices to shipping fees has increased. That means grocery stores are paying more to stock rice, and those costs get passed down to you. So what can you do? If rice is a key part of your diet, buy in bulk now before prices spike even higher. You can also explore alternatives like quinoa, barley, or couscous to stretch your meals. Rice might not completely disappear, but by March 20 to 25, it could be one of the hardest pantry staples to afford. So be prepared. 7. Coffee. Can you imagine starting your day without coffee? For millions of people, that's unthinkable. But by March 20 to 25, your favorite morning pick-me-up might be harder to find and way more expensive. The biggest reason? Climate change. Coffee plants are extremely sensitive to temperature changes. They need cool, stable weather to grow properly. But rising temperatures, unpredictable rain patterns, and frequent droughts are ruining coffee farms in major producing countries like Brazil, Colombia, and Vietnam. Some farmers have already reported major crop losses, and experts warn that yields will continue to drop. Another issue? Diseases and pests. As the climate shifts, coffee plants are becoming weaker and more vulnerable to plant diseases like coffee leaf rust and pests like the coffee borer beetle. These threats reduce harvests and make coffee harder to produce. When supply drops, prices skyrocket, and we've already seen coffee prices jump over 30% in the last year. And then there's the export crisis. Many coffee-producing regions rely on global shipping networks to send beans across the world. But with rising fuel costs, worker strikes, and port delays, getting coffee from farm to store shelves has become more expensive and slower. Some smaller coffee brands may even shut down because they can't afford the increased costs. Big coffee companies like Starbucks and Nestle have already warned that coffee shortage could get worse. Some stores may limit stock, while others may raise prices to extreme levels. If you love your daily cup, this is bad news. So what can you do? Stock up on coffee now before prices rise even more. Consider switching to instant coffee or alternative caffeine sources like matcha or chicory coffee. If you're a serious coffee lover, look into supporting local roasters who work directly with farmers to ensure a stable supply. By March 2025, coffee could be a rare and costly luxury instead of an everyday essential. If you want to keep enjoying your morning cup, now's the time to prepare. 8. Beef. If you love a good steak or a juicy burger, you might want to enjoy them while you can, because beef could be one of the hardest foods to find and afford by March 2025. The biggest issue? Cattle shortages. Over the past few years, severe droughts in major beef-producing states like Texas, Kansas, and Nebraska have made it harder for ranchers to feed and water their cattle. Many farmers have been forced to reduce their herds, leading to less beef on the market. And when supply drops, prices soar. Another major factor? Rising feed costs. Cattle feed, mostly corn and soybeans, has become way more expensive due to inflation and poor crop yields. Farmers are struggling to afford feeding their livestock, which means fewer cows reaching the market. Some smaller ranchers are even quitting the business, making the shortage even worse. Then there's the labor problem. The meatpacking industry has faced worker shortages for years. With fewer workers to process and package beef, production has slowed down, causing delays and price hikes. Some grocery stores have even limited how much beef customers can buy at one time. On top of all that, new government regulations around cattle farming and greenhouse gas emissions could further impact beef production. Some experts predict that these rules may reduce supply even more, making beef a luxury item instead of an everyday food. So, what can you do? If beef prices keep climbing, you might want to stock up now and freeze some for later. Also, consider switching to alternative proteins like chicken, turkey, or plant-based options. Some people are even exploring lab-grown meat, which might become more common in the future. By March 2025, beef could be too expensive for most families to enjoy regularly. If you're a meat lover, now's the time to plan ahead. 9. Sugar. If you love sweets, you might want to brace yourself because sugar could be one of the next big shortages before March 2025. The biggest reason? Extreme weather is devastating sugar crops. Sugar mainly comes from sugarcane and sugar beets, which need stable weather and plenty of water. But major sugar-producing countries like India, Brazil, and Thailand have been hit by droughts, floods, and heat waves, causing huge drops in production. This means less sugar is available worldwide, and prices are already soaring. Another problem? Export bans and global supply chain issues. In 2023, India, one of the world's top sugar exporters, restricted exports to protect its own supply. Other countries are considering doing the same, which could make sugar even harder to get in the U.S. Add in shipping delays and rising transportation costs, and sugar shortages could hit grocery stores soon. On top of that, new government regulations may impact sugar production. Some countries, including the U.S., are pushing for limits on sugar farming due to environmental concerns. At the same time, more governments are imposing taxes on sugary products to reduce health risks like obesity and diabetes. If sugar becomes harder to grow and more expensive to sell, we'll see fewer products on shelves and higher prices. What does this mean for you? Expect prices for candy, baked goods, and soft drinks to increase. Some brands may even cut back on sugar content or switch to alternative sweeteners. So, what can you do? Stock up on sugar now if you bake often. You can also try honey, maple syrup, or natural sweeteners as alternatives. Because by March 2025, sugar might be more expensive than ever. 10. Olive oil. If you love cooking with olive oil, you might need to start rationing your bottle, because by March 2025, it could be one of the hardest items to find and afford. The biggest problem? Severe droughts in major olive-growing countries. Spain, Italy, and Greece, 3 of the world's top olive oil producers, have faced record-breaking heat waves and extreme droughts over the last few years. These harsh conditions have devastated olive trees, leading to one of the worst harvests in decades. With fewer olives being produced, less oil is making it to store shelves. Another major factor? Rising production costs. Farmers are struggling with higher fuel prices, labor shortages, and increased costs for fertilizers and equipment. All of this drives up the price of olive oil, making it more expensive for both stores and consumers. Some reports even suggest that olive oil prices have already doubled in some areas, and they could go even higher. And then there's theft. Believe it or not, the olive oil shortage has led to a rise in black market sales and thefts. In Spain, thieves have stolen thousands of liters of olive oil from farms and processing plants, driving prices up even more. Some brands are even putting security measures in place to prevent more losses. So, what can you do? If you rely on olive oil for cooking, consider stocking up now before prices climb even higher. You can also explore alternatives like avocado oil, sunflower oil, or coconut oil, which may be more affordable in the near future. By March 2025, olive oil could be a rare and expensive luxury. If you want to keep using it, now's the time to prepare. We've just covered 10 surprising grocery items that could disappear before March 2025, and the reasons behind their potential shortages are alarming. From climate change and extreme weather to supply chain disruptions, export bans, and rising costs, these factors are making everyday essentials harder to find and afford. Eggs. Bird flu outbreaks and higher feed costs are driving up prices. Milk and dairy products, reduced dairy herds, and rising production costs are leading to shortages. Canned goods. Supply chain delays and aluminum shortages are slowing production. Avocados. Climate issues and trade restrictions are threatening supply. Fresh fruits and vegetables. Droughts, labor shortages, and transport costs are limiting availability. Rice. Poor harvests and export bans are causing global supply issues. Coffee. Climate change and pests are reducing production, leading to higher prices. Beef. Cattle shortages, expensive feed, and new regulations are making beef harder to get. Sugar. Weather disasters, export bans, and government policies are impacting supply. Olive oil. Droughts and skyrocketing production costs are making this kitchen staple a luxury. While some of these items may not disappear completely, they could become much harder to find and significantly more expensive. That's why staying informed and adaptable in your shopping habits is more important than ever. Look for alternatives, buy in bulk when possible, and support local farmers and producers to secure your household's essentials. If you found this information helpful, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more updates on how to navigate these challenging times. Stay prepared, stay smart, and we'll see you in the next video.